Brothers, you were born into a world that was set against you before you took your first breath. Long before you could speak, before you could even stand, the game was rigged. You did not inherit the world your ancestors built. You inherited a wasteland, carved up by thieves and traitors. A world where the fruits of your fathers' labor have been plundered, where their sacrifices have been spat upon by those who now rule over us. The home you were promised, stolen by financial parasites who gamble with your future like drunken lords at a feast. The family you were meant to have, torn from you by a culture that scorns fatherhood, that poisons women against their own nature, that exalts sterility over legacy. The dignity of honest work, stripped away, replaced with wage slavery. Your time and toil exchanged for scraps, while the ruling class gorges themselves on your misery. You were robbed, my brothers. We were all robbed. And what have they left you? Debt, isolation, a culture that despises you, that seeks to break you down until you accept your lot as a disposable cog in their machine. You were never meant to rise. You were never meant to own land. You were never meant to lead, to marry, to have sons of your own. The modern world was designed to make you nothing. And now, as we stare into the abyss, we must ask ourselves, do we accept this fate? Do we wither away, growing old in quiet despair, cursing the men who betrayed us but doing nothing to change our course? Or do we rage against the dying of the light? Because there is one final act of defiance left to us. One last unyielding declaration that we will not go quietly into the night. We will rebuild what was stolen. We will resurrect the Warband. Not for fame, not for glory, and not for the empty rewards of a dying civilization. We do this because it must be done. Because the cycle must turn again. Because the sacred bond between warriors and priests, the warrior priest of old, must be reborn. Men who do not beg for power but seize it. Men who do not wait for permission but take back what is rightfully theirs. Men who lead not for themselves but for the tribe. This is not entertainment. This is not digital opium meant to soothe you into passive despair. This is the first step on a long and brutal road, a guide for action, a path to becoming. Yes, my brothers, the Warband will rise again. Now, let's begin. Listen well. The world you were born into is not the world our ancestors knew. Their bones rest beneath the soil, their stories carried by the wind. But their spirit is waiting for men worthy enough to carry the flame. That, my brothers, is why we speak of the Warband. From the beginning of time, the Warband has been more than a company of warriors. It has been a crucible, a proving ground, a sacred brotherhood. It is where boys are remade into men, where the weak are burned away, leaving only those fit to lead. And among our Celto-Germanic tradition, the path was clear. If you sought entry, you did not merely join, you were reforged. The young ones would leave their homes, stepping beyond the comforts of hearth and their mother's love. They would enter the wild, the forest, the mountains, the unknown. There, they would suffer, they would starve. They would fight against beasts, and worse still, the demons lurking in their own minds. Those who failed were left behind, and the tribe was stronger for it. But those who returned, they came back as men, scarred, hardened, ready. This transformation was not merely physical, it was spiritual. The God who oversaw such trials was no mere protector, no kind shepherd of the common folk. It was Odin, Wotan, the god of kings and warlords, of sages and madmen alike. Unlike Thor, who watched over the farmers, the craftsmen, the herdsmen, Odin was the god of those who sought something higher. His gifts were never free. Wisdom through sacrifice, power through pain. The Warband had its own eschatology, its own fate beyond death. The farmer had his place. He tilled the land, raised his sons, and worshipped Thor, the guardian of Midgard. But those who swore themselves to the Warband, those who pledged their loyalty to the path of Odin, sought something else. Not peace, not comfort. They sought the storm. They sought battle. They sought a place among the Einharjar, where they would sharpen their swords in Valhalla, preparing for the final war to come. And so, my brothers, I ask you, where do you stand? Are you content to live as the farmer, or do you feel the call of the Warband? Among our people, there was always a class of men who stood above the rest. Not by birthright alone, but by trial, by fire, by the will of the gods. These were the Thanes, the Hari, the Suevi, the sacred brotherhood, the Warband. And among them one would rise. The Einharjar, the first among men, to be counted among them was no small thing. It was not granted, it was earned. Through hardship, through mastery of self, through an unbreakable bond with kin and land and gods. These men were not rulers for their own sake. They did not seek power for indulgence, nor riches for pleasure. They were kings because they had no choice, because the weight of duty demanded it. But the world has changed. The kings of old have fallen, their thrones stolen by lesser men. Where once we had leaders, now we have parasites. They do not guide, they dictate. They do not protect, they abandon. They do not sacrifice, they consume. And so, my son, the burden now falls upon us. If there are no kings left to rule with honor, then we must become them. Understand this. The path we walk is not that of the common man. The road of Odin is not one of ease. It is the road of warlords, of seekers, and of those who would shape the fate of their people. The aristocracy we speak of is not the rot that rules today. It is not the soft hands and empty words of those who inherit wealth but lack the strength to wield it. No, no, no. The true aristocracy, the Warband, the first among men. We are bound by something greater. Duty, loyalty, honor. We have been lied to. We have been told that kingship is indulgence, that leadership is luxury. But the truth is far harsher. A king has no friends, only followers and foes. Every word he speaks is spoken as the tribe. Every action he takes is a ritual dedicated to his people and his gods. This is not a life of leisure. It is a life of sacrifice. And if you wish to claim it, you must be prepared to bleed for it. We are the men of oaths, the future kings and earls, bound to none but the gods, and through them to our people. The Einharjar will rise again. It is not enough to merely admire the gods. We must seek to become like them. They are not distant figures to be worshipped from afar. They are kin. Their blood runs in our veins, and if we are to honor them, we must do so through action, not words. This path is not for the weak. It never has been. And as our world descends into decay, we must face hard truths. Not all can be saved. Many have chosen comfort over struggle, weakness over strength. They are not our concern. We do not weep for them. Instead, we focus on the few, the strong, the worthy. The ones who will stand when the storm comes, the ones who will endure. The tribe must be pruned to survive. This is not cruelty, it is necessity. Those who lack the will to rise will be left behind, as it has always been. The herd must be culled. But for those who remain, for those who have the strength to endure, we will rise, as our ancestors did, as all free men must. And so, my brothers, we come to the final lesson. The Warband does not fear, it does not kneel, and it does not beg. We do not fear the Christian hell, nor do we tremble at the judgment of foreign gods. If the price of loyalty to our own is suffering, then we will bear it. If the cost of honor is exile from their paradise, then let us be exiled. We carve our own afterlife, as we have always done. If fire is to take us, then let it take us as men. Let it take us as King Redbad once declared. I would rather burn in hell with my ancestors than serve in heaven under my enemies. So stand. Stand as your forefathers did. Stand as the first among men. For the warband endures. The warband rises. Brothers, the world you were born into is not the world you will leave behind. The cycle is turning, and we stand at the crossroads of destruction and rebirth. You have been told that you are powerless, that your fate was sealed before you drew breath, that the world belongs to others, and that you must accept your place as a servant in a kingdom built on the graves of your ancestors. But we are not slaves. Our ancestors did not cower in the shadows of history. They did not weep for a lost past. They forged the future with blood and fire. And now, brothers, it is our turn. The gods did not create us to be ruled by lesser men. They gave us their example, a blueprint for power, for mastery, for leadership. As Odin rules from his high seat, the Einharjar stand beside him, a warband of the highest order, men bound by oaths, stronger than steel, warriors and sages alike. This is not myth as the modern world understands it. It is law, a sacred structure that our ancestors mirrored in their own societies. The royal courts of our tribes were built in the image of the gods, as the halls of Olympus reflected the might of the Olympians. As above, so below. The warband is not merely an institution. It is the foundation of aristocracy, of kingship, of a ruling class bound by strength, wisdom, and the burden of duty. And if the old kings have fallen, then we will forge a new line. Make no mistake, this is not a rebellion. It is a restoration. We are not seeking to tear down for the sake of destruction. We are here to rebuild, to resurrect what was lost, to rekindle the flame that was stolen from us by cowards and usurpers who repay trust with treason. The warband is not just a brotherhood of warriors. It is the crucible from which leaders emerge. It is the seed of a new ruling class. A class of men bound by duty, forged in hardship, and chosen by their own merit. Not by the corruption of birthright without trial. We are the kings to come, not in the decadent, bloated sense of modern aristocracy, but in the way of our ancestors. To rule is to serve. To lead is to sacrifice. The crown is not a symbol of indulgence, but of responsibility. The man who wears it must bear its weight, or be destroyed by it. If you seek power for yourself, you are unworthy. But if you seek power for your people, for your tribe, for the survival of those who will come after you, then you walk the path of kings. To reclaim our place, we must understand one of the greatest traditions of our Indo-European ancestors: adaptation. Look to the myths. They were never static. They shifted, evolved, grew. Not because the old ways were abandoned, but because the wisdom of the past was reforged for new trials. This is why our story seems scattered, why modern scholars fail to piece together a single rigid doctrine. The myths were alive because our people were alive. The divine twins, the Ashvin twins, Romulus and Remus, Hengist and Horsa, Magni and Modi. These legends followed our forefathers as they founded nations and carved civilizations out of the wild. Through comparative mythology, we can trace their steps, seeing the echoes of our bloodline across continents and centuries. And now, in our age, we must do the same. Our myths are not relics to be locked away in the halls of academia, debated endlessly by men who have never lifted a sword or led a tribe. Our myths are meant to be lived. The warband and the path to kingship are not abstract concepts. They are our reality, our duty, our sacred mission. The time for mourning is over. The age of lamentation has passed. We have spent too long reminiscing about the past while allowing ourselves to be shackled in the present. Now we act. We build. We forge alliances. We train our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. We create warriors and priests, men of arms and wisdom, leaders who can both fight and guide. This is our answer to the decay of the modern world. We will not beg for a place in a broken system. We will replace it. The gods do not weep for us. They do not pity us. They wait. They wait for men strong enough to take up the mantle, to wield the power that has been left abandoned by cowards who fear its burden. This is not a path for all men. Many will surely falter, many will fail. But those who endure will be the foundation of a new world. We are not the last sons of a dying race. We are the first kings of the age to come. The warband endures. The warband rises. Brothers, the tribe is calling you home. Embrace the warband. Until next time.